Look at that. We won a game and we didn't curse out the referees. I didn't know it could happen. That felt terrible, but a win's a win in my book, bro. It was weird. The refs made some interesting calls. Madrid is going to have a field day with that, and the idiots on Twitter are going to Photoshop some shots that make it look like it was weirder than it was. We're going to get into everything today. We're going to go over how our boys did, because some of them didn't really impress me today. Others turned up and showed what they had, and I'm happy to see that, but you know, a lot to talk about nonetheless. The whole game, more or less, looked like prime Xavi or even this year and last year's Real Madrid, honestly, where it's a mid-off for the vast majority of the game. Really solid job by Rayo today. They're having a little bit of a Cinderella story, pushing in La Liga, like significantly. I think they were 6th in La Liga going into this match. That's really good for this side. So They made it difficult. They played well. They pressed. They were back and forth the whole time. They didn't just sit back. We got away with playing not well. And it feels like how Real Madrid have won the league in the past 2 years or the past year. And what we needed to win the league this season. Because this puts us in first place on goal difference. And so it's not the most significant. Or it might be on head-to-head. I don't know how La Liga works. I don't really care. The point is, we're in first in La Liga right now. Real Madrid isn't. And so we figured it out today in time, and we haven't figured it out in situations like this earlier this season. I'm happy we did it. I'm happy we're back in a really good position, especially because we're not playing a ton of football right now, while Real Madrid really is. So they're going to have a difficult period, especially with all their injuries. They have to deal with all of that. We don't. This is where we have to take advantage of it, where we're not playing other teams and don't have a ton more going on. This is where we have to be really good. And today, we definitely weren't really good. I don't even know if we were good. But we won. But we'll jump right into the ratings too, because I think it'll make the most sense to just go through what happened today with them. Szczęsny was fantastic. 8.5, 9 out of 10. I don't think he could do any better. Made all the saves he needed to. Was there when he needed to be. He's really impressing me. I think he's probably a better keeper overall than Ter Stegen, and everyone's freaking out that Ter Stegen's coming back, so hopefully he doesn't take the starting job away from Szczęsny. I don't know if he will. Hansi Flick seems to really appreciate Szczęsny, at the very least, over Iñaki Peña, so we'll see if there's a little battle there. We'll see if Ter Stegen walks right in. I don't know if he deserves to, considering how well the Pole has been playing. He's really good. And I'm so excited. I'm so happy that he is there right now. He saved us today, honestly. Then at the back, Fort came in for Koundé because apparently Koundé was late to some meeting or something, allegedly. I think Hector Fort had a good opportunity today, really prove himself. I don't really think he did. He seemed a little bit more restricted defensively, and he's not the greatest defensive player, and he definitely did not have the chemistry with Lamine that Koundé normally does. Their passes to each other were off for the most part. There was a really good connection in the second half, but it felt like they were guys who don't play together often. And that'll change if he plays more. I don't really think he's going to play more. I think Hansi Flick loves Koundé. He hates benching him, and he's going to continue staying in that spot with very little minutes given to Hector Fort. It is what it is, but I don't really think he deserves much more than a 6 today. I think he was okay. Not that impressed with him overall, though. Kubarsi, I think he was good. I think this was a really solid game from the defensive setup today. I think if they weren't on it, we would have lost. And it could have been very easy for us to lose. I think we're lucky that Rayo didn't finish their chances. But the back line was doing really well, was keeping guys offside in the first half and then recovering really well. Mostly Inigo, but Kubarsi still was good today. I think a 7 is probably fair. And Inigo, I'm going to give him an 8.5, maybe more, maybe a 9, honestly, because he did win the pen. He was incredible defensively. He's so good. He is really good for someone who's, I think, 33 years old and has had these injury issues. I'm really impressed with him, and he's making a case for him being the starting center back over at Araujo pretty easily. It's nice to have a lot of depth there. It's nice to have guys who can rotate and play around, and like we saw today, Kubarsi got taken out, and I think that was fair. I think Eric Garcia came in and was good as well, so I like the idea that we can rotate these guys around. I like the idea that Inigo is so good. And he was able to actually recover from playing the high line in a way that I haven't seen Kubarsi do as well this season when they're playing the left center back. I think Kubarsi is good in possession as a left center back. I think Inigo was recovering from stepping up and getting back a little bit faster and a little bit better than Kubarsi does normally. It could have been just the few instances I saw today. It might be more of a him being more comfortable at left center back. I don't know exactly what it is, but it looked like Inigo was really good at it today. And Balde, I think, had a pretty good game today. It wasn't the most stellar performance, as it wasn't really, and nothing was really happening on the wings for any of us. Both Balde at times and Lamine Yamal had like lead boots on because their touches were all over the pace. Their passes were never with the right amount of waiting, and it was very weird from the entire front line. and even Balde at times. But I think Balde was overall touching into space, well, helping to break out of pressure. I really like Balde today. I think he's had a really good last month and a half, I'd say, and I'm really excited to see where it takes him. I think a 7.5 is probably fair, where I think that's where I'm comfortable putting him today. And then our midfielders, I think Frankie was really good. Better than he was earlier in the season, not necessarily as good as he could be, but he was driving into space well and helping lead possession in a way, especially deeper, in a way we really haven't seen him do. He was more of a lone pivot today. And he looked really good on the ball. But I think it was Lars who said it in chat, where Frankie looks like a captain of this team in possession. He leads the team in possession, especially from the back, moving it forward. And especially under pressure, like he wasn't with Rayo a couple times. He's able to find space and move the ball forward. But he is not the same thing defensively. And he did intercept the ball a few more times today than I expected and was decent today. But he's not a dominant pivot back there in a way I would say like Busquets was in really winning the ball back and really securing that back line or keeping the ball from getting there. And it felt a little bit like he was disappearing into the back line when he's defending, right? It felt like we were there was like no midfield because the attackers were either pushing on a counter and really separating us from the back line, and then Frankie would just drop into the back line. It felt a little separated there, a little distant. I don't know if that's on Frankie. It's just something I wanted to note today, that we weren't winning the ball back a ton in the middle of the pitch. It was either very far forward or right at the back from a defensive masterclass from Inigo or even Frankie. He was good today. I'm going to give him a 7.5. I think this was one of his better defensive and in possession games. He's looking like more of the player that we've expected him to be this season. Pedri, just class. All around, I don't think he has any flaws in his game. He is so good at football. 9, my man of the match. You could probably share it with Inigo and Tech as well, though. So it's like all three of them, I think we're all equally as important today and all deserve to share that man of the match award. But moving forward, I think it's a lot of meh. I think Gavi, to start off, was better than we've seen him this season. I think he's had trouble finding kind of like meshing into the squad where he's being played and everything. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but today he looked good, especially out of possession. I think he was one of the reasons we won the ball back in dangerous positions a lot today. We didn't convert any of them for some reason because the guys could not finish or couldn't put a final ball in. Apparently there was 2.5 XG. It should have been a lot more than that though, because we were in the box and around the box so many times. We just could not put it together. It was actually impressive how bad they were. But in possession, Gavi is not nearly as impactful as I've seen from Dani Olmo and even Fermin Lopez. So I'm interested to see how he warms into that, see if the number 10 is actually the right spot for him to be at all. I don't know. I'm a little confused at where Gavi really fits best here. Maybe the Tacticos watching could criticize or correct me. I don't really understand it, honestly. I think when Dani Olmo came in, we saw how much better he is creatively than Gavi. That doesn't mean Gavi also isn't good. I think Gavi's more of a runner probably and then pressing as well, maybe more of a Rafinha type. But overall, not a bad game from him, not his best. 6.5 is probably where he's at. And then Lamine, I'm going to give the kid a 6. I really just don't think he was good today. It was weird where he was beating his man a couple times and it's just the final ball or the finish wasn't happening, and he took a lot of shots. They weren't coming off. It was not his best game by any stretch of the imagination. And yeah, I think he's a great player. I think he's great a lot. I think he's young, and he's going to make mistakes. But I think I can criticize him when he makes those mistakes. And today wasn't his best work. I think a 5.5, a 6 is probably where I'm at with him. I think he just had too many chances in front of goal to not really threaten more than he did. And Rafinha is a similar story too, where it was just the final ball. It wasn't coming together. It was either weighted incorrectly, wasn't coming through the defensive line, and it just wasn't working out. I'm not sure exactly what it was. They just couldn't figure it out. And so I think probably a 6, 6.5 for Rafinha as well. Lewandowski scored, so I'll give him a 7. He did score the penalty. I think he was fine overall. But again, it was the similar story to the other guys, where that final pass was just weird. It looked weird. This looked like the Barcelona that played earlier this season when Lamine Yamal was out, except this time Lamine Yamal was in. They just couldn't create. I mean, they could create. They just couldn't put the final ball in a lot. And it was weird. It was something was not right. Maybe it was Rayo's intensity. I'm not exactly sure. They didn't look on today. But again, it doesn't really matter because they won. Yes, there was a penalty call earlier in the game that I think Madrid fans are really going to be upset about. It's something that gets called a lot. I know the ball wasn't going to Inigo. That's just something that gets called in La Liga where he was tackled, basically. That's a pen. I think it like on footballing terms, like looking at it objectively, it's probably like, since it is a foul, it should be maybe an indirect free kick or something because it didn't stop him from scoring. He wasn't going to get the ball anyway. But and then there was a goal chalked off for Rayo. I think that's less arguable than the pen, because there is a striker offside who directly affects play by blocking off Inigo Martinez from going to make a tackle on the defender. You can't be in the way of an attacker. We saw a goal for Ferran Torres, or against Ferran Torres last season. I think it was a game-winning goal get chalked off because Ferran Torres was offside. I believe that's how that worked. But it happens to us when someone's offside and some even like kind of affects play. It gets called most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't for some reason, but it should be called off because he was offside. He affected play. So it's not the best overall game by any means from these guys. It was very much a Xavi-esque performance where we're stressing to the last minute, but they walked away with a win. I can't believe they didn't put it away earlier, but whatever. They won. 3 points is 3 points. First place is first place. Also, I'm going to pitch my Instagram. I've been doing it on most of my videos nowadays because I'm trying to grow the account so I can reach out to more brands and more footballers and just get more content out there. So make sure you go and follow. It's at BobleyLou. I'll put the link up here somewhere. And yeah, I'm also going to upload a video on the main channel tomorrow. So make sure you have you're subscribed and you have notifications set for that channel as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.